Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Learn with Lo. I'm really excited to continue our Thyroid Essentials series that we've been diving into this month of May. If you've been following along with us, then you know we've kind of been all around the world here when it comes to overall thyroid conversations. So I just think in the world of conventional medicine, but even honestly, functional medicine as well too, there's this big kind of gaping misunderstanding of what is the thyroid, what does it do, what is it responsible for in the body. And until we kind of grasp some of those foundational concepts, I feel like we can't possibly come up with a more comprehensive or complete treatment plan when the thyroid tends to get a little bit funky on us, right? So if you've been following us, we really took episode 1 to talk about all of the things thyroid function. What does it do for our body? Of course, it's most notoriously known for weight and weight management, but the thyroid does not just control weight. It's the giant metabolic thermostat in the body, right? So it controls everything from hair growth and nails and motility, like bowel motility. So it's not uncommon that when one thing slows down, everything slows down, right? So we see more of the slow metabolic rate. We see more slow bowel motility rate or more constipation. We see slower hair growth, right? So it's like when the thyroid tells things to slow down, everything slows down. And so because the thyroid is that major metabolic thermostat of the body, we then took episode 2 last week to really talk about the major sabotagers of our overall thyroid function. So it's like, if we know that it's a metabolic thermostat, what are we doing incidentally in our day-to-day life that is causing the metabolic thermostat to get turned down? And then we're over here acting surprised as if like, wow, why did my thyroid respond that way? I'm shocked. And kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together to understand how things like metabolic depletion, which is really just a fancy way of talking about like nutrient deficiencies, which we'll get into a little bit more today as well too, as well as our gut and our liver detoxification pathways playing a huge role in our overall thyroid function. And then we even played into a little bit more of our spiritual and energetic connection, knowing that the thyroid is also very much connected to our voice, very much connected to our authentic expression. And so a lot of times individuals who are not living in their authentic expression, not living into their truth, holding back their truth from fully being voiced, they also may struggle with thyroid issues, right? So this is a science meets soul version of thyroid health, because that's what you're going to get at the lowdown, right? That's what I do. That's what I love. So when we think about the thyroid essentials, we're going to bring all of the same foundational conversations forward that we've been talking about. But today I really want to dive into a little bit more of looking at the thyroid from a nutritional perspective. I can't tell you how many, usually it's females, how many females come into my practice and have been told that they have hypothyroidism or they have Hashimoto's, and they were told by an endocrinologist, by a PCP, that their nutrition didn't really matter. Here's your conventional cookie cutter blanket thyroid medication that we give everybody who walks in the door with thyroid issues, right? So they feel kind of like, well, is there nothing else? Like it's just thyroid medication and I just get sent on my way, but I don't really change anything else about my day-to-day. Like, what about my lifestyle? What about my nutrition? What about different like I said, gut health or detoxification? You're not going to hear about those conversations in more of a conventional medicine sphere. It's not necessarily because they don't want to have those conversations. It's either one, they aren't trained to have those conversations, so they just straight up don't know that those things are a part of it. And two, more likely than not, they don't have anything in their toolbox to help correct any of those parts of the thyroid physiology. So why are they going to spend time talking about it if they don't have any solutions or any tools to give you, right? So knowing that, we have to really sometimes be a more empowered patient for ourselves so that we can kind of proactively really understand our body, because I promise you, you do not need a PhD to understand your body, and you don't need a PhD to understand your thyroid, right? We've already started to talk about the thyroid being a major metabolic thermostat, which means that one of the thyroid's main jobs is energy availability. It's constantly auditing the environment. It's kind of like if you think about like an emergency call center, right? That is the thyroid, because the thyroid is really, they're just getting calls in from all of the other areas of the body. They're getting a call from the brain. They're getting a call from the liver. They get a call from the gut. They get a call from the adrenals. They get a call from the ovaries. Every message in the body is going to come back to the thyroid and let the thyroid know what is the state of the state. Are things going really well? Do we have plenty of energy down here? Are we starving for energy? Are we scraping the bottom of the barrel? We're almost on empty down here. That is what the thyroid does. It is not the victim in this situation, or it's not the villain in this situation. It's actually more of the victim. So you can imagine, as the thyroid, the call center of the system, it's absorbing all of this, all of the messages and all of the stress, the good calls and the bad calls that come in from other parts of the body. So quite frankly, how the thyroid responds is just responding based off of what everybody is telling it to do. Okay. So it's constantly receiving all of these messages or all of these phone calls from our internal environment and from our external environment, asking questions like, are we safe? Do we have enough tools to function? Do we have enough energy to thrive? Do we have enough calories? Do we have enough nutrients? Do we have enough safety? Like, all of those things are what the thyroid is constantly trying to audit in the environment. And if the answer to any of those questions is no, of course the thyroid is going to hit the brakes, right? It's like, okay, we need to pump the brakes here, because the thyroid is going to be responsible then for correcting the situation, right? It's like, okay, there's not enough resources. We don't feel safe. There's not enough energy to thrive. Let's turn that entire metabolic thermostat down, right? And that's where we start to get all of those downstream symptoms, like losing our hair, brittle skin and nails, low energy, low mood, low motivation to do anything, more of a weight gain picture, more of a constipation picture, right? Everything is just slowing down. Now, when it comes to our thyroid and it adapting to energy availability, we have to then understand that nutrition is a huge part of thyroid function. Okay. If its sole responsibility is to constantly audit, is there enough energy? Is there enough nutrients? Are we thriving well? I would say that food is going to be probably number one on that list of what provides the most safety and the most nutrients and the most energy to thrive is going to come from what we eat, when we eat, how we eat, or what we don't eat enough of, right? So it's kind of wild out there to think that we're actually making these bold statements of like, oh, nutrition doesn't matter when it comes to thyroid health. And it's like, no, it actually matters a whole hell of a lot, because the thyroid is a very nutrient dependent organ. Okay. In order to do its thing, it needs a lot of love, okay? It's constantly looking for specific nutrients from the environment, specifically minerals and specifically vitamins. So even just a few off the top of my head here, iodine. Iodine is a big one. Where do we get iodine? We get iodine from seafood, things that grow in the sea, things that grow in salt water. Iodine is a big one to be able to convert T4 into T3. Too much or too little, that can trigger issues. We also think about selenium. Selenium is a major antioxidant in the system. Brazil nuts are a great source of selenium. Again, we need that to be able to convert T4 into active T3. If we're not getting enough selenium, we're not getting enough antioxidants from our diet, that conversion is going to struggle. What about things like zinc? We need that for hormone receptor sensitivity. We need iron in order to carry the T3 from cells to cells and tissues to tissues. We need B vitamins. We need magnesium. Our thyroid is a sponge for nutrients. So one of the very first things that I do with my patients that come in and they have known thyroid dysfunction, or we run some labs and we find that there is some subclinical hypothyroidism, the first thing I'm doing is getting them on more nutrients, right? From food first. Then of course we can always layer in some specific supplementation, but someone that has more of a hypothyroid tendency or a Hashimoto's kind of tendency, nutrients are a game changer. And we're not doing that by dieting ourselves to death, by fasting for 18 hours a day, by eating a low carb diet, by going vegan. It's like all of these things that so many women, especially out there, do in the name of health, we think we're doing such great things for ourselves, then we end up with hypothyroidism, and then someone tells us that our nutrition had nothing to do with it. Like, that seems to me actually completely ass backwards, right? It's like our nutrition probably had everything to do with it, because all things are going to go back to the thyroid being a very nutrient dense organism. So the problem being, more often than not, women are unknowingly, I don't think a lot of women are doing it purposefully, but a lot of women are unknowingly living in a very nutrient deficient state every single day, right? We're out here under eating, especially under eating carbs or under eating fats. Let's be real. Those are the two categories of foods that just get demonized in our current diet culture. We're skipping breakfast. We're running on caffeine all day, every day, which is also a diuretic. So we're losing a lot of minerals that way too. We're training like an athlete, but we're eating like a bird. And then we think that we're like eating clean, but really our version of eating clean is severely undernourished because we're just not eating enough, right? And so I can't reiterate enough that it's not intentional. This is how we're taught. This is how we're brought up, but it sends one loud signal to the body, and that signal is there's not enough. There's not enough. We are not safe. I need to scavenge. And then we wonder why the thyroid responds the way that it does. Right? It has our back, and it starts to turn the thermostat down because it sees us doing all of these things every day. And it's like, I got to slow stuff down. We're going to burn out real quick. So it turns down the metabolic thermostat. We end up feeling more puffy. We feel more inflamed. We feel more lethargic. We feel more like we watch our weight creep up, right? And then what do? We restrict harder and we exercise harder. And I'm like, stop the madness. Stop. I'm like, we're not understanding our body's overall physiology. And we're playing into this like diet culture crash that's contributing to thyroid dysfunction, only for traditional medicine to then just go out and prescribe everybody and their mom synthetic thyroid hormone, right? It's like, we have to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Like, that is a very incomplete care plan. That is a very short-sighted and cookie cutter way of looking at the thyroid, because we're really not doing any help to the thyroid. If it wants to downregulate and we just put more thyroid hormone into the system to kick it when it's already down, probably not going to bode well for us, right? So let's kind of look at a little bit of the science behind this a little bit, because I think it always helps kind of put things into perspective. We have seen in multiple different studies, I'll share some specific ones for you. Low calorie intake, which is going to be different for everybody, but we see that low calorie diets do reduce the conversion of inactive T4 to active T3, which you want that. We see low carbohydrate intake specifically raise what we call reverse T3, which blocks our overall thyroid hormone from docking properly to our cellular receptors, and fasting. Fasting, especially in women, can raise our cortisol and suppress our overall thyroid output, especially when it's a prolonged fasting, right? So to put even some specific numbers behind it, there was a 2006, so it's been a while now, but a 2006 study in a journal called Metabolism, where they studied women that were following a 1,200 calorie a day diet, and they had significantly lower T3 levels and compared to their non-dieting counterparts. Now, 1,200 calories a day, I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but let's look at this whole like appetite suppression, weight loss medication phase. I can tell you right now that 90% of the women that come to me using some of the weight loss and appetite suppressing medications are eating nowhere near 1,200 calories a day. And then we're wondering why their thyroid are not properly converting. It's like, are we shocked? It's like, so we just go from like, oh, weight loss medications, and now you need some Miralax because you're constipated, and now you need some thyroid hormone. I'm like, what are we doing, right? It's like, stop the madness is what I keep saying to myself. We also saw in another study from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology that chronic overtraining also suppresses thyroid hormone independent of your diet, right? So even just those of us that maybe have a little bit more of a troubled relationship with exercise, that can also really decrease a lot of our overall natural thyroid output as well too. So the wild thing is when the thyroid starts to get involved with our kind of like diet culture antics, right? We're out there unintentionally under fueling, over exercising. Here's the really big kicker. When the thyroid gets involved in those situations, we looked at a study from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition who found that after these chronic dieting or over restriction efforts that were associated with a reduced metabolic rate, right? Even after you stop dieting or even after you recovered your relationship with exercise, your metabolic rate stayed reduced because of the thyroid involvement. So this is where people end up on this like crazy train of chronic dieting because they feel like they can't get off of it because the thyroid is now involved, right? So I just say that not to make it like this bleak thing. It's more this thought process of like, we're doing it all wrong, right? It's this thought process of we think we need to then exercise harder and restrict more. And all you're doing is involving the thyroid even more. And so you're going to have trouble not only losing whatever weight or reversing whatever symptoms you're looking to reverse, but you're also going to have a lot of trouble keeping it off, right? So this is where it's like, we cannot just think about calories in, calories out. We have to understand our overall body physiology. And the thyroid is one of those big ones, okay? So if we look at, okay, what are all of the nutritional things that supposedly, from a conventional medicine aspect, nutrition doesn't impact our thyroid function at all, right? It's like, okay, we've actually just disproven that because we've talked about how underfueling, restricting carbs, over fasting, a disordered relationship with exercise, eating clean, but not eating, like I said, enough energy. All of those things result in decreased thyroid hormone production, decreased thyroid hormone conversion, and a long-term reduced metabolic rate, right? So it's like, okay, so anybody that says that nutrition doesn't matter, nutrition absolutely does matter. What does it actually look like, though, to nourish in a way that the thyroid actually loves, right? So when we ask those same questions to an endocrinologist or to a PCP, the answer to me should be more like, yeah, actually your nutrition plays a huge role in this. And these are the different things that you can be doing to nourish your thyroid better, especially when you receive more of a hypothyroid diagnosis or when you receive like a thyroid hormone medication recommendation. Is like, these are the things that we should be talking about either alongside it or even years before it, okay? Because what we need to rebuild thyroid health is we need to rebuild the sense of safety within the body. So number one, we have to kind of convince or coax our body out of survival mode and into safety mode. What does that look like? Number one, eat breakfast. Wow, so simple. Eat breakfast ideally within about 60 minutes of waking up because that is the circadian rhythm. That is the light and dark cycles of the sun, right? So I know you may have heard it on your latest biohacking podcast about the benefits of intermittent fasting, but I'm telling you, if you are a female, especially if you are a menstruating female or a reproductive cycling female age, you are going to want to pay attention a lot more to your circadian rhythm and your overall cortisol levels than you are to any sort of biohacking and fasting, okay? So eat breakfast, ideally within 30 minutes of waking. Eat enough. Right? I can't describe this enough. Eating enough and learning how to fuel enough for our overall energy demands, that is thyroid function, okay? If your energy demand, what you're asking your body to show up for every day, not just exercise, I'm talking about you being a parent, you being an employee outside the home, you taking care of children or aging parents, like anything that you're asking your body to show up for every day, that requires a significant amount of energy. If your energy intake, whether that is sleep, whether that is water, whether that is minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and food from your diet, if that is only reaching here and your energy output is here, guess what has to compensate? Your thyroid, okay? So don't act surprised when your thyroid compensates accordingly to your underfueling patterns and your over fasting patterns. Just don't be surprised, right? We can throw thyroid medication on top of it, but you're probably not going to feel wildly different because we're kicking the thyroid when it wants to downregulate as a safety response, okay? Also, stop training yourself like a punishment Okay, we should not be engaging in physical activity and exercise as a means of punishing ourselves for what we ate or what we weighed that day. It's like we need to create a better relationship with exercise, leaning into more of our rest-based resistance training, leaning more into restorative movement. Even like if you're exhausted and you don't feel like your workouts are building you up, you feel like your workouts are actually breaking you down, then they're not doing a service for your thyroid function, okay? I know that we always think about like your latest 60-minute Peloton workout and your spin class and your CrossFit. It's like chances are doing those all day, every day as your sole source of exercise probably isn't doing your thyroid any favors, right? And then last but not least, we need to think about really understanding how to fuel our body in a blood sugar balanced way. If you have not taken my Master Your Metabolism Masterclass, it is a 6-week boot camp course that I walk you through all of the amazing foundations of how to fuel your body in a blood sugar balanced way. If you're fueling your body for blood sugar balance, you are lowering your cortisol. If you are lowering your cortisol, you are supporting your thyroid hormones. Okay, it all fits together. You cannot do one without the other. So to kind of like wrap the nutrition piece up and put a bow on it, if you want to know like what does that look like from a meal timing perspective, food pairings, what should I be eating for meals, what does it look like to fuel myself for my thyroid hormone function, Master Your Metabolism Masterclass is waiting for you, and it is a gem. I still, even having run this program for 5+ years, I still hear such life-changing benefits of individuals where their mind was just opened to a brand new system to think about food. And they're like, why did nobody teach me this earlier? Why did nobody help me understand food the way my body understands food? And I'm like, I know. It's my low-down methods proprietary system that I know you will absolutely love. So if you have not taken my Master Your Metabolism Masterclass, click the link in my bio, head over to my website. You can start that today and start really jumping into like, what does this actually look like on paper, and have me right there with you, walking you through that entire process. So to kind of wrap this up, really think about asking yourself, when it comes to nutrition and when it comes to exercise, this isn't really about food or workouts. This is about reprogramming your entire relationship with your body. Okay. And that's what I love. And that's why I love this work, because it's so much deeper than just the surface of food. Like that's what we end up talking about. But really what we're doing is we're looking at where have we as women been stuck in this cycle and in this loop of chasing smaller, quieter, be less needy, don't be so much, be more disciplined, right? And it's like, I want you to ask yourself, what part of me learned that I needed to shrink in order to be safe? That's really what the thyroid is picking up on here, is where are we over restricting? Where are we over exercising? Where are we nutrient depleted? Where are we denying ourselves safety and sustenance in the mode of physical transformation or in the mode of health? It's like it's under this guise of health, but it's actually not doing us any services at all. We want to really think about how is it safe to take up space as a female? How is it safe to show up rested? How is it safe to show up nourished? And I promise you, your body responds so much more positively to that, not just from, like I said, a body composition standpoint, but your energy, your skin, your entire like aura, your entire energy that you bring into the room, your menstrual cycles if you're a menstruating female, your gut health, your bloating, your detoxification. Like this is where it all begins. And so I just want you to really think about the fact that we may need to rewire some of those systems that got us here. If you want some additional help, like I said, I think the Master Your Metabolism Masterclass is a great place to go after this conversation to really learn like what does the thyroid need from a nutritional perspective. If I've ever asked my provider, what can I be doing from a nutritional perspective, or does my nutrition impact my thyroid? And if you got the answer of no, it doesn't, I'm here to tell you that your intuition was right. Your intuition was valid, that yes, your nutrition actually plays a tremendous role in your overall thyroid function. My Master Your Metabolism course is a great way to answer that question that maybe you didn't get fully answered the first time. So I'm happy to provide that for you guys. Jump over to the link in my bio and don't hesitate to jump right in. So we'll see you guys next week for more on our Thyroid Essentials series.